Excellent. Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to this evening session. I'm really excited that you can all be here to engage in this conversation. So my name is Fiona Ngaruro, and I'm a member of Unthinkable Kenya. And I'm really excited to be moderating this panel, discussing the topic of how business communities build great leaders. I've certainly benefited from being part of various groups throughout my career. And I really hope that this evening, afternoon or morning, wherever you are, you come away with some great insights on the importance and the benefits of being part of a business community, and also some ideas of communities that you can join. So let's get started. We have an amazing panel for you this evening. And so I'll introduce the panel right away. So starting with Samuel Kamochu. So Samuel is the founder and lead pace setter at Meliora Technologies and the convener of Natujenge. Kamochu, as he's more popularly known, is a software engineering and telecoms professional with over 13 years experience. And he has a dream one day of becoming a teacher. He is the co-founder and lead pace setter at Merriam-Webster Technologies, which is a software engineering company in Kenya, empowering software engineers to write a new story for Africa. Kamochu is passionate about Africa and is actively on a mission to empower the next generation of software engineers in Kenya and Africa through an initiative called Natujenge. He will be telling us more about that this evening. Welcome, Kamochu. Loud and clear.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've received such an introduction. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank
You're most welcome. All right. Our next panelist is Monet Diclefs. So he is the founder of Big Square Kenya, an entrepreneurial leader in the hospitality and food industry, and currently the managing director of Simbiza Brands in Zambia. Monet has over 30 years experience in the food industry, working in various countries across the continent, including Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria, Mauritius, to name a few. He has created and scaled numerous businesses and held a number of executive positions. Most notably, he founded and grew Big Square in Kenya to become the fastest growing chain of casual dining restaurants. At the heart of it all, he is an entrepreneur, passionate about activating entrepreneurial spirit in young and aspiring business owners. And he will be sharing some of those gems from his entrepreneurship journey. And also how being a fool is not such a bad thing. He will explain that a little bit more later. Welcome, Monet.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And lastly, we have Alex Morio. So he is the founder of Unthinkable Kenya. Alex is an entrepreneurial leader who has carved a professional name for himself in matters strategy, innovation, and entrepreneurship. He co-founded Unthinkable Kenya, a Kenyan registered nonprofit in 2016, with a mission to convene leaders for no BS conversations on 10x growth. He continues to serve as a trustee director. Professionally, Alex is the head of customer experience at Absa Bank Kenya. He will be telling us more about Unthinkable Kenya, who are the hosts of this webinar. Stay tuned. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent, thank you. All right, let's get started. So I'll start with Kamochu. Tell us about the Natujenge initiative. What was the catalyst that led you to start it, and what has the impact been so far?
Thank you so much, Fiona. Natujenge, for those of you who where they are is morning, probably you don't know the meaning of Natujenge, but it's basically let's build. It is borrowed from our national anthem. I think the third stanza talks about Natujenge taifa letu ndio wajibu wetu. And for those who do not understand that, it basically means that we have the primary responsibility of building our nation as the citizens of Kenya. And that is the starting point. So the whole idea was, how then do we build our nation? And I know for you guys who have worked in various spaces, you know the struggle of how, like for me, I have worked in the telecommunication and in IT field for 13 years. Trust you me, there are so many things that I could not connect when I was in school. There are things that I've connected today. So the ultimate dream is to ensure that we make people make those connections as early as possible. Because I think in Kenya, the biggest resource we have is not even the water, the aquifer in Turkana, or even oil in Turkana. It's the human resource. If we just tap into that and ensure that the many guys who are doing IT, engineering, computer science, or related courses can actually solve our problems, then economically we will empower ourselves, we will improve the lives of people. And of course, that's the ultimate objective of Natujenge, to see us equipping the next generation of engineers that will change the story of Africa. And of course, that started way back after working in the telecommunications space. And having been there, worked with the international vendors, then you realize at the end of the day, the same programming languages that we learn, whether C, Java, or any other language that you guys use, is what is used to create the solutions that, whether it's Ericsson, Huawei, Google, Microsoft, it's the same knowledge and the skills that we need to do. So the only problem is that we have some serious bad manners that we needed to get rid of in terms of the process and the culture of just working alone, which is one of the biggest challenges that we try to eliminate in our engineers. And if we train them how to collaborate, then we know for sure that they'll become great software engineers and they'll become great problem solvers, and we'll start seeing a lot of innovations, a lot of economic empowerment. And I think all of us will be very happy. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Maybe you can also just to add to that, how does the Natujenge initiative, the structure of it, like what are the activities that happen within that initiative, just to paint a broader picture of the community?
So we started, actually, I think you had mentioned about what we've been able to achieve over time. So it all started in 2014 when the dream of what we call today Meliora came into the minds of a few of us, myself included. And the whole idea was to see how we can promote that culture. So what we started with is we tried to work with engineers who do not have the bad manner. So first we established a process. Then we started working with fresh graduates from campus. We trained them on the process because they know how to write the code. And our initial hires, I think, Alex, there was a time you did a session at our office. And one of the things that was noted is actually our engineers, all of them started fresh from campus. We come and share what we know, we equip them, and eventually they become part of the problem solvers. So we have trained in the last probably 7 years, actively last year and this year, we have actually impacted more than 400 people. Last year, we did a series with about 40 guys, and we are basically trying them to appreciate the basics. We go back to the first principle and see how we can actually help them appreciate the things that they do so that they can unlock the power in building these solutions that we have always kept out of our lane. So, So that's basically what we've been able to do. And currently we are quite excited to have a group of about 50 guys who are basically with us for about 8 weeks. And the whole idea is for them to actually appreciate everything, the end-to-end process of software engineering, from either requirements, understanding who has the problem first, understanding how they feel, all the way to creating a product that can actually be launched. And we are quite excited to have about 50 guys who are currently going on through what you're calling Overcome Your Fear, software engineering bootcamp. And these guys have been selected from a group of about 250 who applied for the opportunity to be part of this journey. So I hope that helps paint the picture in terms of what we've been able to do. And Alex, I challenge you that at the end of the year, just come and we showcase the guys and what they'll be able to see. And they can also share the stories, because at the end of the day, that's how we are able to influence our nation in the right direction, which is something I'm very passionate about. It may not show, but trust you me, this is something that that I totally believe in. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thanks for giving us an insight into Natujenge and, the fact that it's focusing on, the software engineering sector and, the young, fresh out of uni community. I'd like to then move to Monet. You've pioneered an entrepreneurship community called Ask the Fools. I'd love to know, how was that experience and what were the lessons, running this group, specifically for entrepreneurs? I think you're on mute.
Sorry, there we go.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. No, thanks. I'm actually part of a leadership group called Fast Forward, which is run by Sunny Bindra. And in one of our sessions, we interacted with what was then Gen Y youngsters, just to understand their needs as customers from a business perspective, because most of the participants in that group are definitely a couple of decades older than Gen Y was at that point. And it was quite an eye-opener to interact with them and understand their way of thinking. And what was quite revealing was that we found them very interesting and they found us just as interesting, which was a bit of a shock, because you would think they'd be bored with us and laugh at us. But so that interaction and conversations we had with them then inspired me to involve some of the leaders that are with me in that group. And they were very gracious in giving their time, and we only ran 1 year, which was for I think it was 3 sessions, where we discussed various subjects with young business leaders. We had some criteria that we had set, and I think the interaction was fantastic, and that's where I met Alex. Alex was one of the Ask the Fools young business people at that point. And unfortunately, it didn't go further than 1 season. And I didn't have the time because at that point, my business, Big Square, was on a growth path. So I just didn't have the time to take it further. But what has been unbelievable is that Alex, as one of those participants, something obviously touched him there, and he then started the Founders, I think Alex it was called in the beginning, which is now morphed into Unthinkable. So the seed we planted there has now resulted into Unthinkable and what Alex has achieved, and he's done a fantastic job. I'm quite proud of him, and it just showed the lesson I learned out of that is no matter how small you think your impact is, or the time and effort you give to something that's a passion of yours, you never know who you're touching and what impact you're having on people. And sometimes it's not immediately apparent, but over time, many things can happen. And I think that's why since that day, I've always given Alex, my full support for what he does, because I think we share a passion in helping young business people reduce their mistakes. You can never eliminate them, but you can at least reduce them by sharing, all the mistakes you've made. And I've got a very long list of mistakes that I can share. So that was my journey with Ask the Fools, and how I met Alex, and how this Unthinkable has been born, and my support for Alex during his journey.
Excellent, excellent. That's so amazing. I mean, I think quite a few key things you've brought out just now. I think one that I wanted to double down on is the fact that it was a two-way street. You as the experienced entrepreneurs were learning just as much from the young people as they were learning from you. Maybe you can just give a little bit of maybe an example or something, just for our audience to really understand the point of being in communities like these. It's not just anyone can learn from anyone, and everyone has the experience to share.
Well, I think for me personally, and I can also just take some of the feedback that I got from all the other leaders that were involved in Ask the Fools, is that you being a coach or a so-called mentor or somebody that's sharing some knowledge, it's perceived always that you know everything and you're going to impart all this knowledge and experience onto other people, but we like to call ourselves wise fools, because at the end of the day no one knows everything. And that's something that we keep reminding ourselves of, that we are just fools trying to get wiser. And in the interaction with the youngsters, I think for me personally, the biggest lesson or learning there was that it doesn't matter what business you're in, the pressures, the cash flow issues, how to grow teams, how to scale, when to scale. We all share the same challenges, and that's obviously with leaders who have done that. We could share how we went about it. Not that it's a blueprint by any means, because during that process everybody makes mistakes. And also, I think conversely, we learned so much from the questions that the younger business folk were asking us. Just the way they see business, the way they think about it. And sometimes you even having a discussion with one of them, or a group of them, and you actually realize that they've got one hell of a good point here. I'm going to implement this in my own business myself. So it's definitely a two-way street. And there's learnings both ways. And I think by also sharing your experiences with people and also giving them some insights, it sometimes sharpens your own thinking about your own business. So there's definitely benefits both ways, and there's no way that the older folk that are supposed to be the mentors or the coaches know everything. It's definitely a two-way street.
Thank you so much for elaborating more on that point. Alex, now to you. We've heard from Monet, how the Ask the Fools initiative planted the seed for Unthinkable. And so I'd really love to, hear more about, Unthinkable. You've run Unthinkable for the last 6 years now. Tell us more about, how the idea came up and how the journey has been so far in the last 6 years.
Thanks, Fiona. And I really love the intros that have been done by Sam and Monet. I think there must have been like probably 5 or 6 of us who, after being orphaned by the Ask the Fools program, somehow found ourselves in this new world. I would say 5 are still in Unthinkable, Kenya. So Monet, your work was not in vain. Those folks are very well connected. I'm literally sitting in the studio of one of the participants in Ask the Fools, whose company, Bright Spark Media, has grown by leaps and bounds to date. So I totally resonate with what Monet is saying, that nothing is in vain. And then think about the ripple effect. 5, 6 people, 6 years later, now we're talking 500 plus folks who have been able to go through what was Founders before, then became Unthinkable Kenya. We're now in a mission to get 100 people for next year to be a part of the programs that we're going to be running. The goal is to eventually make that a couple of hundred, not just running in one city like where we are right now with Nairobi, but to see whether we can make it either across the country or even Pan-Africa. Right now, Mone is in Zambia. I'm sure he would be more than eager to get this kind of conversations going on there, given the opportunity. But just taking it back, I posted this on LinkedIn the other day when I was talking about this forum. I'm a product of community. Back from when I was a young, well, I would like to think I'm still young, but when I was younger, and getting a chance to be, in programs, getting a chance to get into mentorship programs. I did a couple of those when I was in Strathmore University, and then when I went to do my undergraduates, which is where I met Sam as well, got to participate in a few. And it's almost been like I naturally keep stumbling into new places where I can find other people we can connect with. If you think about it, even just how we grow up in our education system, going all the way back to when we are children, we are products of community. Why do we then lose that when we become professionals? Or why do we lose that when we become entrepreneurs? And as Mone has rightfully said, the risk you then run by being alone and operating through your own wisdom or the wisdom of one or two people who you surround yourself with is that you could make mistakes that you could easily have avoided if you are enriching yourself with wisdom from other people's experiences. That's what Unthinkable Kenya has been able to provide, of the lessons that we have gotten from being part of many other communities in the past. Our members come together, they talk, they share. We learned this actually from that former group, which is called the Gestalt mindset. And the Gestalt mindset basically means that when you come into any of our forums, you're not coming to pontificate. You're not coming to speak as if you are the all-knowing person. You're coming to share your own experiences, and you're willing to listen. What's been interesting for me is, and we'll get to hear from many other speakers over the next few weeks, is where you invite people who are at the top of their game from a business standpoint, and you're thinking, oh, let them come and we get to soak their wisdom. And then when I'm having a conversation with them afterwards, what they really love most about those engagements is they say, I also left that place with so much insight that I'm taking back to my own organization. So it becomes an exchange. And so the peer-to-peer knowledge exchange, the mentorship exchange that happens, we run many coaching programs within Unthinkable Kenya, is actually a two-way street. And my vision, at least moving forward, is to make sure that there's always going to be that interlock between the people who are up and coming. So Sam, for instance, is talking about Natujenge, where he's working with these young folks who are either in campus or straight out of campus. And working all the way up, you've got people like himself running a very successful technology company, going all the way to the likes of Mone, who's running companies worth hundreds of millions or billions even. So how do you create that interlock between all these different layers? Because there's something for that billion shilling CEO to learn from that student who's in campus, and vice versa, and all the way across that spectrum. So Fiona, without speaking a lot, that really is the essence of what we're trying to achieve with Unthinkable Kenya. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Alex. We'll definitely come back to you, to drill down even a bit more about the vision for Unthinkable. So thank you so much for that. A question for all of you. So you've talked about, Kamochu has talked about Natujenge, an initiative that he is pioneering, specifically for young graduates and software engineers. Monet talked about Ask the Fools, which was really for young entrepreneurs, and it's something that he's passionate about now. Alex talked about Unthinkable, but I really would like to maybe ask, for those on the call, maybe who are wondering what other groups, because we we saw, the connection between Alex going for Ask the Fools and that seed being planted into now what Unthinkable is. But maybe each of you could give an example of other groups you are part of as you are coming up in your career, just so that people can really, understand that this is something that, you can do at a very early stage, and there are different kinds of groups out there. So which groups have impacted you and have been part of your career journey this far? Anyone can chime in.
I'll let Sam start, or maybe Monet, you want to go?
Yeah, let me go. So I actually make it a point to see where I believe I can add value, but also selfishly where I can learn stuff I don't know anything about. So I'm not a techie. I'm the opposite of a techie. So I'm very interested in joining or listening to people who know a lot about it. So I'm part of an organization called Growth Africa. And during my Big Square journey, was also involved in Endeavour. And obviously Fast Forward, as I mentioned. And I think during the you've got different levels of interaction. I think what I take out of Fast Forward is support. I went through a very acrimonious fundraising exercise with Big Square, and I think if I didn't have my support group from that I've built over the years with Fast Forward, Alex, and a couple of other organizations, I don't think I would have made it through that period. So businesses go through cycles. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. And I think what I've learned the most from all the groups I've been involved in is to stay humble and stay grounded, especially when you're up. And build relationships that you can lean on when the cycle is down, because it's the next down cycle is just around the corner. So I think definitely support is something that comes out of the relationships. And then I also think navigating very difficult situations is daunting if you're trying to do it on your own. And another thing that's come out of the interactions I've had with various groups is being able to share my experience on a personal level, and hoping that has given the person some sort of direction going through a similar situation. And then on a personal level, when you're going through strife or a difficult time, you're not always thinking clearly. So it's always very, very important to bounce things off people, try and stay calm as difficult as that can be, and then lean on that support. So building relationships, I think, is key. When your business is doing well, a lot of people can actually link you to even more opportunities if you're building the right relationships. And I think being another big lesson I've learned through relationships and groups is to always be as brutally honest with each other as you can be, because that builds trust. And when there's trust, I think you can achieve a lot. So I think if you look at the relationships and groups that you're involved in, I think you need to be clear about what you believe you can add as value, and also at the same time, what is it you want to receive from the same people for yourself, and be very clear about it, and make sure you extract as much as possible from the support groups, and also give as much from yourself.
Excellent, really, really pertinent points there. Thank you so much.
I can go.
Alex.
I can go next, and some seems to be waiting for the rest of us to finish.
So that I shared my points.
So Fiona, I really appreciate that question because, and I say this to anyone I get a chance to speak to, I think it's really, really important for anyone in the professional space to be very aware of the various communities that they could potentially join, whether it's a small community within your workplace or it's global communities such as the ones that Monet has spoken about. Personally, the ones I associated with, and I'm very proud to be with them because they really just help augment everything I get out of Unthinkable Kenya. And I'm very proud to say that a number of them are already partners with us here at Unthinkable, including even for this conversation. I do go through coaching through the Go Forth platform, which is a coaching organization that is run by a good friend of mine called Sheban Jagi. That has worked for me greatly. I am an alumni of Centonomy, and so Centonomy also does a great job of just keeping their alumni well connected and continue to invite them for different engagements. The other community I'm a part of, and this is especially from my personal financial management and business financial management, is Abojani, who are also co-sponsoring this particular discussion. Robert Ochieng has founded that with other great people. That's a great community as well that I encourage the people listening or watching today to be a part of. Recently, we've partnered with Sandbox, which is a melting pot of experts. Basically, the vision that the founder, Joram Winamo, has is to have all expertise housed under one roof. And if you are someone in business seeking solutions, you don't have to try and get them everywhere. You go into this one place and it's all there. So that has also been a great platform for us, for myself especially, to be a part of and to get to connect with others. What we've also done within Unthinkable is to set up offshoot communities that I think would also be interesting. If you are running a startup, we've got Unthinkable Startups now, which started this year, and I've seen some of the participants from this year's cohort, like Steven, on the call. Great to have you here. So, I mean, you can always jump in there and see what's going on and connect with other communities. And I'm sure there's many others that, and I'm hungry for community, as you might have noticed. And for me, it's not a competition, because there's always something, as Monet alluded to. You have to be very clear on what value you're looking for and what value you want to give. When people come into Unthinkable Kenya, we tell them that you're not coming here just to take. You're coming here to also give. In fact, the more you give, the more you get out of it. And that's really the essence of being a great person in a community. Fiona, I can use you as a great example of someone who truly takes advantage of communities. I hope you'll share your own as well. Thank you.
Thanks for the shout out, Alex. Kamochu, please go ahead. I'll share after Kamochu.
Yeah. So I think Alex has mentioned, as I prophesied, has mentioned a few of the communities that I'm part of, but I'll say that I've had groups and individuals that have really impacted me a lot in my journey professionally and also in business. I think Alex has mentioned of Abojani, the guy who came and tried to teach us that we need to know the purpose of starting a business and what's the primary responsibility of the business, and reminded us that some of us are doing things the wrong way, having a lot of activities and not achieving the objective. So definitely, if you want to get into that space, whether it's personal finance, that's a space that I have really benefited at a personal level and business-wise. And I think one of the groups that I really love to be part of is actually Unthinkable. Alex may not be aware, but he has actually, and the people that he has brought just to walk this journey with have been really impactful. There are so many things that I've learned in Unthinkable, and I know even our team has really learned a lot. from the various mentors that are there. I believe in life, I think it's all about relationships, just even outside the groups that you're part of. There is another one that it's called Digital Disruption Caucus. I know the guy from Abojani. It's all quite a group that has leaders that you probably would have feared to meet, but later you realize that these have challenges and you also have challenges, and together one of the things that I believe is that like I think then those relationship. I still remember me back in 2011 when you wanted to start our first startup. Okay, Alex, it was probably startup number N. But when you wanted to start a startup, one of the things that we always get into is we believe that you're coming as a team and everyone is as passionate as you are and you'll work together and make a lot of money. But I think in his youth, he actually, now he said he's a young guy. We somehow disagree, but when he was a bit younger, he actually told me one day that if you want to succeed in this business, we are 5 of us, I think you are 4 of us, and he told me that if this business will succeed, it will depend on your answer to this question. Whether you want to work and move forward with this idea, irrespective of whether I support you or the rest of us support you. If your answer is yes, it will succeed. If your answer is no, there is a chance that it will not succeed. And what I can say is that God brings people of all kinds your way. So take advantage of that and ensure that you keep in touch with them. They'll always help you. Mentors. I think I'm a product of professionally and even business-wise of the seniors who I worked with. And they encourage you. Sometimes they believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And they give you opportunities and chances that you could not have imagined. So it's very, very important that you ensure that not just forums, but even just taking those personal relationships seriously, because life is about them. And generally relationship with people and anything you can think of, both living and non-living objects. Yeah.
Great, thank you. I really hope everyone's taking notes. Like, there's a lot of gems here, just around, the importance of business communities, how you should approach trying to identify which communities are best for you, how to handle your relationship with people within communities. I think, that's, a wealth of information that you've all shared. Now that Alex, kind of put me on the spot, I'm going to just give a small tidbit just about my, experience and benefits from business communities. Having lived overseas for many years and moving back to Kenya, not knowing really having any relationships or had been away for a very long time, leveraging communities really helped me to get to know the business community in Kenya, get to know, how to navigate, work in Kenya, and so on. So I would say it's really, really helped me a lot. Some of the communities that I've been part of that I would suggest and recommend, for example, Women Work. So that's a great organization that's specifically for women. They are a good community of about a big community on Facebook mostly, but they've also been very pivotal in giving a lot of information, supporting women in the group, whether you're a small business owner or an executive. It's a great community of sharing. Unthinkable definitely has been a big one for me because I've been able to attend a lot of the sessions that they have, where they have a lot of leaders coming in, captains of industry, getting to hear their story and having one-to-one conversations with them. And there's so many out there, so many communities out there. And as even Monet talked, just approaching someone who you know is an expert. It doesn't have to be in an official capacity. Sometimes you just want to know something about an industry you don't know much about. Approaching someone who you know knows more in that area is also a form of relationship building and community building. So that's a little bit of experience on my side. Thank you so much, Alex, for that. So I would love to then just speak specifically, drill down about Unthinkable, because it's a wonderful community, which is hosting this event. And I'd love to just hear from each one of you. Like, you've touched on it a little bit, but I'd like us to drill down on that. Maybe Monet, you can give us a bit more information about, how your role as a coach of Unthinkable has been. What are some of the aspects of coaching that you've been part of, specifically with Unthinkable?
Yeah, I think the thing that stands out for me the most is the tenacity and the will to make businesses work that comes out from these sessions. I think also as a coach, you build relationships over time, because I think only when your relationships with certain people mature a little bit, do you actually extract the most value out of it. So I think, to give an example, if Alex and myself had a conversation about a certain subject, I think we would both extract a lot of value compared to someone that I've met on a call twice. So I think that's something important to note. There's, it takes time for both people to feel comfortable to actually extract value out of the conversations and the so-called coaching or sharing. I like to call it sharing, to really take effect. But what I enjoy the most is to actually ask questions where I don't have any answers, and the way I ask it, it might sound that I know what I'm asking and I know the answer to the question I'm asking. And what's interesting is that most people actually find the answer themselves during the conversation. So that's something I really enjoy. And I think asking questions more than sharing just your experience, but learn, and this is something I only learned over time, and I've had a lot of time, is when to ask the right questions. And that's something that comes with time. It's not, I don't think, when you start this journey, it's not something that comes naturally. So I've really enjoyed the experience. In all the groups I'm involved with, obviously there's some people who really show interest and ask a lot of questions, and other people, you meet them once and you never hear from them again. And there's what I've also learned through all these experiences is there's no ego about it. Some people find you helpful and others don't, and get on with it and don't, so it's not personal. From a coach or a mentor point of view. So I think from an Unthinkable point of view, I wish I was in Kenya, which I'm not. But I want to come and visit more often, because I think there's a lot of value now that we passed COVID in face-to-face interactions, versus calls or emails or written communication. Just to see body language of people, listen to them, see their reactions. I miss that a lot. And Alex alluded to it. I actually, the only downside for me is moving around Africa. You build and get involved with communities, and then just as it heats up, sometimes you leave, and then you have to start again. But at least with Alex and a couple of the and Unthinkable and a couple of the other groups, it's been a constant, which I'm grateful for.
Thank you, Monet. Kamochu, maybe you want to give an example, or what has been specifically the experience being part of Unthinkable? What are the benefits you've realized from being part of Unthinkable?
Yeah, I think there is a team called Liverpool that has I don't know that it's a tagline that you'll never walk alone. That's how I feel when I think about Unthinkable, because there are many people who come and share their struggles, and it just encourages you and gives you some energy to move on. Otherwise, quite a number of us would have doubted whether this thing is meant for us. So in that aspect, I think I really, really appreciate what happens here. You also make friends and people who are there to support you. I think there are quite a number of guys within Unthinkable that have really supported our business. We offer a certain service, and I can use the example of like Coachella. We were happy to be the first guys to pioneer, to just test their product and be part of their success. And that has been the same case. You find now we have a certain service that we are offering, and they are willing to support us, take the risk, and just risk their customer experience by ensuring that they depend on our services. That's something that is really great, and it leads to the growth of our business. I think I still remember, I think it was in 2021 in March. I remember this forum where we were talking about pivoting. And I think I was really challenged by the time I was living there, because you're struggling, you want to sell your product to as many customers as possible. Then Alex and team just challenges us to look at it from a different perspective. Could you be targeting the wrong customer? Could you position your product probably to a different market segment? And the journey has been exciting for me because it has challenged me, and it has made our team grow and our business grow. The other thing is, I think the network. When you hear about 6 degrees of separation, I think being in forums like this one, if I need a CEO of any company, the thought leaders and the industry captains, I know for sure, I normally go to Alex and tell him, do you know this guy? Because he's able to bring them and they talk to us, which is quite interesting. So I think anyone who has an intention of starting a business or running a business, I think you need to plug in such forums, because when you have very thick days and bad days, you actually find people who can hold your hand and just encourage you to move on. And I mean, were it not for such forums, I know many businesses would actually packed, and you look for a job and you get serious in terms of providing for your family, and stop taking them on a roller coaster. Yes.
Thank you, Kamochu and Monet. I'm getting, the recurring theme here is, just a support system, people to bounce off ideas. Sometimes just speaking to someone can, make the light bulb go off. As Monet said, all of a sudden, when you just hear yourself speaking, you're like, oh my goodness, that's the solution. You get to learn from some people who are experts in one industry that you're not an expert in. You also, over time, when you build trust, people can connect you with people that you need connections with. So I think, you've really touched on some really key benefits of being part of a business community. So thank you so much for that. I just wanted to make a note. Please put in your questions in the chat. We'll be coming to them shortly. You can write them in the chat, or if you prefer to speak, we can also allow for that in a few minutes. Alex, now would love to hear, what's what's the future for Unthinkable? I know you have big plans. You spoke about it briefly, but I'd love for you to, tell us, where do you see Unthinkable going? What is the vision for Unthinkable? Please share this with us.
Thank you. Thank you, Fiona. It's listening to people talk about how Unthinkable Kenya has impacted them, and Kamuchi is normally very generous. He will give you the feedback, the good and the bad. But that's really the thing that really drives the passion for this. Whenever the question of why Unthinkable comes up, with the team, we've basically established that there's 3 key things we are offering our community, which is, one is knowledge, and that has already been alluded to quite a bit, from what both Monet and Sam have shared. Then we provide access. 6 degrees of separation is a very good way to say it, because if I've learned anything doing Unthinkable Kenya is anyone you want to connect to today, doesn't matter who it is, from the president all the way down, there is somebody somewhere who can connect you and get you that person. We've had certain guests come into Unthinkable Kenya that, we were all in awe. It's like, okay, he actually came, he actually showed up. Wow, to this little thing that we are doing. And then you realize there's a lot of assumptions we make that, no, he's too high up there. He would never want to be a part of this. But guess what? Those folks are also hungry for opportunities to either come and connect with other folks, or to give back what they've learned over the many years. So access is something else that we try to offer at Unthinkable. And one of the things we're now doing with the various communities that we are interlocking with is to give you not just access to this kind of mentors, coaches, and the likes, but access to other communities as well that you can be a part of. And the last thing we offer is connection. And connection is something that is very easy to understate. But if you've been listening keenly to what Monet and Sam have been talking about, they've repeatedly talked about that whole feeling of not being alone. The ability to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody who has already been walking a journey with you, so knows where you're coming from, and hence is able to understand why you are in the pickle that you are in. There's a lot of great friendships. I'm still waiting for 2 people who are going to get married out of Unthinkable. It hasn't yet happened, but I know there's a lot of great friendships that have come out of this, and that just makes a huge difference. There's one of our members who out of the many testimonies that we get, but he came and told me in a conversation that, so he had been attending sessions and sessions and sessions. This was back in 2019, 2018. And there was one talk that he attended, and he remembered it was Jackie, who is the MD of True Black Kenya, Jackie Ombajo, and she had been at one of our sessions, and she had spoken, and I remember it was one of our smallest gatherings ever. We must have been like 5 or 6 of us in the room, so it was a very intimate conversation. So he one day just tells me this last year, is like, Alex, if I did not attend that talk in 2019, COVID-19 would have killed my business. Sam is talking about pivoting, which is a topic we love tackling here at Unthinkable, because it is so important if you're running a business to stay dynamic and to stay adaptive to what is going on. That's what she was talking about. But she gave her own experience, with True Black and pivoting and trying to figure out how to really adapt a lot of difficult times that they had gone through. He picked a lesson out of it. He implemented it in his business, and that saved. In fact, 2020 was their best performing year despite COVID. And so the essence of community is, it's not a hit and run. If you want to be a part of a community, you have to commit to it, because you will not find that gem on the first day. You may not find it on the next day. Heck, you may not even find it a year or 2 years later. But one day you will stumble on something, and later you'll be able to say what this friend of mine was saying, that this one thing that this coach said, this one saved my business, because over time you find yourself in these situations. So coming back specifically to your question, Fiona, in terms of the future, as I said, for us, We intentionally, after 2020, pivoted as well into a members-only community. Before that, we used to be an open community. That was very intentional because we wanted longevity. We wanted sustenance, and we wanted the ability to be able to provide that 10x growth that we talk about. The way you achieve it is not in 1 month, it's through sustained effort over a period of time. So every October, we open up membership for the next year. So we're about to open up, if we've not already opened it up as of today, membership for next year, where anyone can visit the website unthinkable.co.ke and just apply to be one of our members next year. So that's one. The second thing that we're doing is to really go big on business coaching. And that's the reason why we have a partnership with GoForth as well, is that ability to be able to access minds who normally you would really struggle to get. Now, what if we were to take that further and give you intimate access? One of the things Mone does, and he's not alluded to it, but we've got a leadership class that we do where a small group is able to be paired with somebody like him, and periodically they get to meet and actually share one-on-one the challenges that they're having. And that exchange has proven to be quite valuable to some of the member companies that we work with. So that's something else we're going to be doing moving forward. And the last thing, Fiona, that we're doing is a startup community that I alluded to. I'm very passionate about that. It's part of the reason, for instance, we've partnered with Sandbox, is this country needs to churn out way more entrepreneurs than we have. Now, as we continue pushing for the right policies and everything on the government side to make sure that new businesses and young businesses and small businesses are able to thrive, communities such as ours become a great platform to help these young folks or old folks who are starting new businesses to be able to not fall in that graveyard where they say 90% of all new businesses are buried. What can we do in our own little way to reduce the size of that graveyard and have more successes coming out of that? I'm really, really proud of the experiment we did this year. Some of the folks from that program, we hear either they've raised funding or their businesses are scaling beyond being startups. That's something else that we're very passionate about, looking towards to partnering more even with people like Sam with the Natujenge program, and seeing how not everybody who comes to Natujenge wants to work at Meliora. Some of them want to go out and set up their own businesses and scale them. How can we help them do that? So that's also part of the future, Fiona. I could go on and on, but let me stop there. I was actually going to ask, before I come back to you, for the people who are watching us today, if they can also share what other communities they are a part of. They can use the chat to just put there. I think it would be great for all of us to be able to know what other community options there are that people can join. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks so much, Alex. I wanted to also just clarify for the audience, is Unthinkable open to everyone? You talked about there's an entrepreneur coaching, there's the small leadership community as well. Just for clarity and for everyone on the call, who is it open to? Are there any preconditions or anything like that?
That's a great question, Fiona. And so one of the things we have tried our best to do, and I thank the team that is helping us with the website, is so when you're applying any of those programs that I have just talked about, the form is actually able to help you know whether you're the right fit for that particular program. But just to give a nutshell of the profile of person we are looking for, the core Unthinkable membership is for either an SME founder. So that basically means that your business is past the startup stage. You're generating good enough cash flow to sustain a workforce and to pay yourself. Of course, that means you're doing it full time. It's not a side hustle. And Sam here is a great example of the kind of entrepreneur that we are looking for. The reason we want that kind of entrepreneur, we call them growth stage entrepreneurs, is because when you come in, you will notice that a lot of our conversations are about growth. That's why we call it 10x growth. So if you come in and today your revenues are 10 million shillings, it's much easier for me to pair you with money, for you to have a discussion with him about how that 10 million can become 100 million, which is where 10x comes in. So if you fit that profile, then Unthinkable Kenya is a great place for you to be. The other profile that we are very, very keen on, that's why we have a leadership program, for instance, is we basically call them senior professionals. That means that you are already sitting in a strategic position, either in an SME or in a corporate. Either you're a co-founder or you're a senior manager, or you're someone who is a head of department. If you're in that decision-making position in any organization, which means that either the founder or the directors in that organization are relying on you to be an engine for the future, then Unthinkable Kenya is looking for you, because you will find a lot of gems here that will help you become more effective in that role. Thanks, Fiona.
Thanks, Alex. So now to the audience, do you have any questions? I can see a few comments and questions in the chat, which I will review. But this is your chance to type in your questions, comments, doubts. We're very open to hearing from you, because again, it's a two-way conversation. So please type in your questions, or if you'd like to turn on your mic and ask the question, please let us know if you put your hand up, and we will get to you. So I can see here, Stephen Joroge was asking, what do you mean by bad manner? So I think that question was directed at Kamuchu. Maybe you can explain, top line what you meant by that and how it fits into the work you're doing at Natujenge.
Yes. Maybe, Stephen, thank you for the question. I think there are some few things after working in an enterprise in the software engineering context. What I meant is that we all know how to write code. But yes, code is a good thing, but the process matters, and also collaboration matters. And I think most of our young guys from campus, they're excited with the code, and they just want to wake up, get an idea, and work on it. The truth of the matter is, writing code as part of the software engineering process is actually a very small portion of the whole problem-solving domain. So the bad manners is that you meet a guy and they wake up one day, you tell them, I have this problem. They tell you, just wait, on Monday, I'll come and show you a problem. Yes, there is space for agility, but you must first dive and get to understand what are the biggest pains, who has a problem to start with. Forget about the solution, but who has a problem and how big is it? Probably by interacting with a guy, you might discover you're solving the wrong problem, and there is another better problem that if you eliminate what you're trying to fix, will actually disappear. So it's always good to, and this is what you hear guys talking about, empathy, design thinking. Those are some just soft elements that don't require you to write any code, but just to have an interpersonal relationship with people and get to listen to them, get to understand where they're coming from, get to understand where you're going, ask the right questions. Because when you go to a tailor, I always say that if today I went to a tailor, just to give an analogy, or let's, for example, a carpenter, and then I told them that I need a coffee table. Developers, what they would tell you, come on Monday, I'll give you a coffee table. Then you get this small coffee table, like a customer, and of course, the business user, the first see, why did you put the table to be black? Then after they change the table to be black, then the next minute you realize the table was too small. So what I'm describing, and you'll continue on and on and on, and then the guy now will make a good table, and then later you come and ask, what? I wanted it to be hardwood. Why did you use softwood? And of course, by the time you're getting to the point where this guy wants a table that is made of hardwood, you've stopped picking the phone. You're not receiving calls from this guy just because you are frustrated, he's a bad customer, you know, he's so problematic, but who has the problem? It's the carpenter, the guy who knows the technical aspects of creating tables. He's the guy who is supposed to ask the right questions at the beginning and confirm what type of wood, what design you want. Don't expect the user to tell you all these things. And I think those are some of the bad manners that we see within our community. So the focus, like when we're in Atujenge, we tell them it's 20% of the time we'll be writing code. And this is true for the successful projects that we've executed over time. And this is the doctrine that we need to train these people. And then it's about collaboration. I talked about how the journey started when Grace and I were having coffee dates back in 2014. And we were feeling there is a weight that we have on our back and we need to do something. But one of the things we noted was we were just benchmarking and looking at, I worked in one of the big telco providers and I was in the R&D center for 3 months. And I was shocked that one of the products that we use here in Kenya was actually made up by 3,000 people working together. Today in Kenya, or maybe that time, I know you guys have changed, you're better people. Pick 2 guys to build a solution for you. And at the end of it, you'll be left with 1 guy who is building that solution. The other one, we don't know what will happen, but for some reason, he will be eliminated. And that game of elimination, we must avoid if we have to succeed in software engineering. Yeah, so that's essentially what I meant, Bwana Stephen, and I hope that speaks into the people here who want to build careers in engineering. It's not about you. It has never been about you. It's about the customer and it's about the other people that you have to work with.
Thanks for clarifying that point. I hope, Stephen, that answers your question and clarifies what you meant earlier about bad manner. I see a comment here from Jane Kerubo, who says, truly wise words in regards to communities. We do need deliberate intentions to nurture communities. Also, she says, in my sphere, I run a mastermind of 12, which serves in support and exchange of knowledge and networks. Excellent. Thanks for sharing that, Jane. Maybe did you want to give a bit more context about the group you are talking about? Maybe you might want to unmute and tell us.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Basically, I'm a leadership coach, and one of the things that we got to discover to be able to leverage and pivot was to use masterminds. And it's the same idea as communities, because basically we have given ourselves a platform of 12 minds instead of 1 mind. And we are from different sectors, and we look at every bit of our businesses, and then we use the combined brain work and the combined networks we have to support and to anchor each other. So basically that's what we do.
Thank you. And maybe would you like to share the name of the community so that the rest of the audience is also aware?
Sorry?
Would you like to share the name of the community so that the rest of the audience also are aware of the community?
It's called Optimum Mastermind, based on optimizing every resource, be it the minds, be it our networks. So it's actually run by Optimum Leadership Solution, which is a consultancy firm that I run. So that is one of our offshoots. That's one of the things that we do. And it has really helped. We are now in our 8th month. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Can I ask Alex a question?
Absolutely.
Possible?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to use an example in asking my question, Alex. So one of the groups I'm involved with is a can you call it a accelerator of sorts? And I was involved with helping. This is while I was still in Ghana, helping a young entrepreneur build a business. And then he went through this accelerator program to assist him with pitch decks and all the stuff that these accelerators provide assistance with. And one of the things that came out is that he needed an advisory board, which I thought was a great idea. And I actually then volunteered and said I would be part of that advisory board. And what went wrong is that I'm not sure, and this is actually, I want to get to my question. I'm not sure the entrepreneur understood the journey. I think he went through a process where he was helped to a certain stage, but the real hard truths that some of the conversations we have at Unthinkable and with the people that you invite about the actual entrepreneurial journey I don't think it was shared with him properly. So halfway through the advisory board being formed, having a couple of meetings, asking him some very tough questions, he actually left the business and found a job because he couldn't survive financially. So that was the end of the business. So two questions actually. How do a guy like that, how would he know that there's something like Unthinkable available or other communities available to actually be brutally honest about the entrepreneurial journey? Because I think a lot of times it's made to sound extremely sexy, which it's not. So how do they get access, and how do they even know which communities are available, and how are you addressing that with your own vision, just to make sure that you can, people know about the communities that are available out there as a young entrepreneur trying to start a business?
Thanks for that question, Moni. And I will admit it's something that we've become more intentional about this year, especially looking at the understanding that there's only so much impact, for instance, that we can have as Unthinkable Kenya by virtue of everything: resources, capacity, function of time, scale, etc. But if we became almost like a gate or a conduit that allows, if you come through us, or if you don't even come through us, if you came through a whole other community, but through that you also ended up finding out about Unthinkable Kenya, I think there's a lot of acceleration of that kind of access and information that could come out of it. I'll give you an example of what we're doing more actively now in that space. So for instance, we've got this community, a few hundred odd people that isn't much by itself. When I interface with an organization like Sandbox, for instance, which has a couple of thousand, people in its own community, all of a sudden the potential for impact, grows from 500 to 2,500. Now that's only within Kenya. The question becomes, how do we then find other communities that may not even be only in Kenya, maybe they even transcend a country like Kenya into the Ghanas and the rest of Africa. That then means that if I am there, when we did the startup program and we were advertising it, and some of our members, because our members are also members of other communities. So, a couple of our members shared it on other platforms as well. And then we ended up getting applications from, Nigeria. We ended up getting applications from Southern Africa side, Uganda, etc., which was surprising for us. That we had to make very quick decisions around, okay, so this was meant to be a Kenya program. Are we willing to open to people who may not be from Kenya? But that only happened because of a linkage that was created by somebody who had mutual access to our community and that had that level of Pan-African access. So I personally take it as a challenge. We've taken a couple of basic steps, by partnering with the likes of Abojani, Go Forth, etc., to try and spread the reach of our community. I'm glad to hear what Kerubo has just shared. Kerubo, I would really love to discuss with you further on that so that we see whether there can also be more linkage between our communities. Mone, my short and simple answer to you is communities need to stop behaving like they're in competition with each other. There's so much value to be created that, and Africa has this luxury of having so many problems that we will never be able to deal with all of them. And so I encourage anyone who's running a community or who is a part of any other community, please share it with us. Literally, we will go to our social media and we will make noise about that community as well, because that's why we exist, to use the power of communities to drive business growth. I hope that answers your question, Mone. And please tell that gentleman to join. Let him come and join the community.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I should. No, thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mone and Alex. Anyone else in the audience who'd like to unmute and make a comment or a question? Don't be shy. This is a discussion and we want to learn from you as much as you're learning from us as well.
I'm seeing a couple of comments. I'm not sure if those are questions or just comments.
So it's a comment from Jane, who's saying, I love the magnitude and numbers being mentioned and partnerships with Sandstorm. She says she needs to challenge herself to scale up her team. And she also says she would love to share more information with you, Alex, as well, to collaborate, as you mentioned.
Wonderful. I look forward to that. So I have a question for Kamuchu. If now that Mone has started the Q&A among the speakers.
All right, go ahead.
So one of the things that we've had a chat about before, Sam, has been around talent, and one of the untapped opportunities that I see when it comes to communities is from a career growth standpoint. There's a lot of entrepreneurship communities, but not enough communities, in my opinion, that focus on just helping people who are growing their career to be able to tap into new opportunities, to get the skill sets and everything that they need to get to the next level. So the question for you is, especially given you run a team and you brought in a couple of your team members to be part of our coaching program, what more can leaders of organizations and founders such as yourself do to make sure that even the people working for them are benefiting from these kinds of platforms, as opposed to you getting all the knowledge yourself, and then you become the little god of your organization who has all the information?
Yeah, I think you brought the point. I appreciate the question, and one of the things that I would say is something that I said earlier, that I think one of the things I'm coming to learn in life is it's not about you. And even in an organization, I normally say that you cannot achieve, like even for us at Meliora, the success that we've had cannot come from one person's contribution. So it has to be a team. And one of the things you'll notice that the objective of all of us is to actually create leaders who can take up the baton from you. It's normally an uncomfortable position because sometimes you want to be the one in charge and the one in control, but truly successful organizations cannot succeed with that mentality. You have to allow yourself to step aside a bit and allow these guys to come. They have the energy, the time, and they're more passionate than you. Sometimes we think that probably we have the highest passion for what we do. Sometimes I've been surprised and I've been shocked with my team that sometimes they run with something with more passion than yourself. And I would say that every organization, I normally say that we cannot fear, we should not at any one point fear developing the people that are under us. Because one of the things that I'd like to remind people is that any company that has been started is always started by maybe one or two guys who came together and they had the initial idea. And they had a certain vision that they cast and they share with the rest of the team. Now, so we say the organization is nothing but the people. So even when you talk about the vision of Safaricom, it's the vision of some people, few individuals, but we have thousands of people coming to follow these guys. There is no time we should not forget that these guys who are following us, they also have their own vision. And I think the magical function of any organization is actually to find a way in which these guys, we need to appreciate the vision that they have and the dreams that they have at a personal level. And this can go as wild as you are a software development company, but a guy wants to become a DJ, or like myself, who has a passion of becoming a teacher. And we have to beautifully wire all these things, align the vision of the organization and the vision of each and every individual so that they don't step out to go and do something else. Not to say that we do not need people to go out there, but the key idea is to identify what guys need. Okay, and we must remember that the guys that sometimes we overestimate the time that we have. We actually don't have a lot of time as the founders and the leaders within the organization. There is very little we can achieve without the help of the rest. So the secret is just to equip them. And at the same time, ensure that you also understand what these guys want to achieve. If you cannot see them growing towards where they want to go, then you have failed as a business, irrespective of whether you have achieved 10x or not. Yeah. So that's what I believe.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Sam. And I've asked that question because I want to put out a challenge to anyone who is watching us today, who is in a position to empower others through opportunities such as this. It's, you know, growth is contagious. If you help one other person to grow, that person's growth actually has a ripple effect. And as Sam rightfully said, it's people make organizations. Organizations are not, they're living objects made up of people. So what can you do? And I always challenge our members on this one is, don't come and take all this gem for yourself. Who else can you empower to also be here? It could be a colleague. It could be somebody working in your team. It could be somebody you know who is even working elsewhere, but you think could benefit from this kind of a platform. Let's spread the word. We need more people in communities. That's something I passionately believe in. We need more people in communities. You will see a lot better leaders. You'll see a lot better employees at the workplace when they are coming back with this wealth of knowledge that they have acquired from interacting with other peers. So we are trying to influence that in our own small way at Unthinkable Kenya. And I invite you to not just bring yourself, especially if you're a founder of a company, but also bring your team along. Fiona?
Thank you so much. Those are really, really key words that you just mentioned. I think it almost goes to the saying, you know, iron sharpens iron, you know, we make each other better. The more that we interact with each other, we make each other better. So that's one of the, you know, great things that come out of being in a community. Kathy has a comment. So she says, interesting conversation. And it's true, we need to complement each other and not see it as competition. And she concurs, Africa has endless opportunities that still haven't been grabbed. I think that's always a very interesting saying. I think I first heard that saying by Bitanga Ndemo, who has also been on Unthinkable, I believe, Alex?
Yes, he has.
Yeah, so I remember him saying that, one way to look at, Africa, we've got so many problems and therefore so many opportunities for us as entrepreneurs, as career people, as professionals to solve those problems. So that's a really great point that you made, Kathy. And then Samuel Njoroge is thanking Kamochu for the invite to this event at the KBHS alumni. Maybe you can tell us what KBHS stands for. And he's really enjoying this conversation and thanking you for the invite.
Yeah, Fiona, if you don't know KBHS, you don't live in Kenya. This is the only Kijabe Boys High School.
Excellent, excellent. For the viewers out there, we have an international audience.
Yes. It's the only school of men in this side of the side of the world.
I will just leave that there because it might cause a riot on the call. All right, and so Jane is just saying it's been a very informative session. So I'd like to maybe move to our closing session. And I think this discussion has been very, very fruitful. Thank you so much for sharing so many insights. I think some of the key things that have come out for me, there are many communities out there. The key thing is to find out which one is best suited to your needs. Whether you're new in your career, you're an entrepreneur, or at the C-suite level, there's a community that is well suited to your needs. The benefits are numerous when it comes to finding a community and getting the best out of communities. Some of the benefits are support in your journey. As noted, entrepreneurship is a very lonely journey, can be made to look, sexy and shiny, but the truth of it is it's actually difficult and there'll be many failures along the way. So support in your journey is really important during the ups and also the downs. Knowledge sharing between people and communities is also a great element of benefit that one gets from being in a community. Connections, once you build trust with people, they then are able to, open up their connection book, and who knows, how that can catapult your career or your business. You get to have a sounding board, just get to bounce ideas with different people, and light bulbs can go off, new ideas can come up, or solutions can come up just through that sounding board interaction. Friendships are made, and as mentioned by Alex, even marriage partners can be found in business communities. And it's a two-way learning street. It's not just the person with the knowledge who is imparting knowledge to the one who needs the knowledge, but it's a two-way street. Even the most seasoned, learn from those who are starting up. So those are some of the things that had just came out for me that, from this discussion. And now I'd love to, open the floor to our panelists to give us a parting word. What is a last word or last thing you'd like to emphasize before we close this discussion? Kamochu, I open the floor for you.
Well, Fiona, so thank you so much. I think one of the things that I had not mentioned is that I believe in God, and I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I know some of you might consider that foolishness. The good thing is that the good book tells us that those who think we are foolish, they're actually foolish. So the battle is still out there on who is the fool. But the key thing that I normally take out is that one instruction that we've been given, that we're supposed to love our God with everything. our mind, our soul, everything, and love our neighbors, we love ourselves. For me, I think this speaks into the community and the perspective that we need to hold in our life, that whatever that we do, it's not about us. We need to ensure that we make the other guy better. And I think you have seen some elements of that in what you're doing with Natujenge, because by doing so, then we will never lack. And I know some of you might be doubting, just try it out. And I know we have many stories from all over that can confirm that theory. So the basic idea that I would say is that, like where I sit, all of us have to take that responsibility to leave the world a better place and ensure that whatever that you know that makes you so good at what you do, the impact it would have is if you share that with maybe another 10 people, to have a great impact. And because you'll have improved the lives of these people, then the next thing that they'll experience is they'll feel indebted. And if we do so, all these challenges that we keep looking at, whether you look to the left, right, or center, the challenges we see in our society will actually disappear if all of us stop focusing on ourselves. And so I invite all of you to ensure that we do that. And we have so many, many problems. And as I had said earlier, in Natujenge, that's all we want to do. You know, you go to the left, you find guys who are looking for jobs, organizations, they post interviews, they post job adverts, they interview, they re-advertise. So it's just a crisis. And yet there are people here who have what it takes. So it's about us coming and ensuring that we don't have to think, what is it? What is in it for me, as most of you famously, most of you ask. And we have to ask ourselves, what is it that we can do for these people? And if we do so, we will equip and empower them and bring hope into their own lives, and then charge them to do the same in sort of a pay it forward fashion. And if we did that, then I think we'll have a better community. And we'll also have a lot of empowered guys. We'll actually have more than we need. We will actually be giving to the world. So let's keep doing it. I know, Alex, you're doing it at your own personal capacity. We are doing whatever we are doing. Fiona, Mona, and all of us are actually doing something. And we need to encourage each other as we walk this journey. Yes, so I think with those very many words, I want to stop there so that I give the rest of the team a chance to say something.
Thanks, Kamochu. Monet, some parting words for us?
Yeah, I think you know, as we grow communities and we help people grow their businesses, I like the saying where they say that you must, once you get to the top floor, you must remember to send the elevator back down. I think that's important. Although I don't ever feel that you ever arrive in some sense, because I believe you've got to stay humble once you do reach a certain level of success. And I just want to thank Alex for staying in touch with me. It's been a long journey. It's been a good journey, and I want to wish him all the best for the future. I know he'll grow the group and the organization from strength to strength. And you know, I think it's everybody's responsibility to, like we've mentioned before, is to make sure that we give access to as many people as possible. And I just want to re-emphasize the fact that you know, make every effort and don't ever think that it's wasted. I think that's been my biggest lesson out of joining and interacting with all the groups, is that you never know what impact or inspiration you're giving someone through sharing your experience, and I think that's important. But just to say thank you, and I enjoyed the interaction today, and thanks for moderating it so well, Fiona. Although you're very far from everybody, you did a great job. And And thanks, Alex, once again. I really enjoyed the session.
Thank you so much, Monet. Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Alex, now to you to give us your parting shot and also, remind us how we can get involved in Unthinkable for those who are interested.
Thank you. Fiona, and really, I've also thoroughly enjoyed this discussion. It's been very punchy, very short, very sweet. And what I wanted to say is that today's discussion is about more than Unthinkable. It's about a big idea. And the big idea here is the power of communities in growing. And Unthinkable Kenya may not be the community for you, for the needs that you have, but there's a community out there where your next career, or your next job or your next business opportunity will be found. And that's what I really challenge you to do. Do your homework, do your research, ask around, and find a place, find a home for yourself. I really love what someone has posted there. In communities, as you rise, you also lift. As you lift others, somebody else lifts. It's been very challenging for me that every successful person, and they are all wildly successful, who has spoken at Unthinkable Kenya, I've always talked about them being part of a community. Either they are part of a leadership community somewhere. Morne himself has just alluded to being a number of interest, which means that the power of communities is there regardless of what stage you are. And if those people at that level are investing so much of their time and energy in being part of communities that grow them as leaders despite their success, then what excuse do you have for not being in a community for the stage that you are in? So please find one. And if you do feel that Unthinkable Kenya could be the community for you, as I said at the beginning, please visit unthinkable.co.ke. And you will find all the information there, especially around our 2023 membership and other that we run. If you don't even join, just subscribe to the newsletter, because we try our best to share as much information as we can around either the knowledge that we are gathering from the various people that we invite to speak here, or moving forward, a lot of is talking about other communities, featuring them, so that people can also know where else they can go. So I'm really, really happy for today's discussion. Thank you. I do agree with Mone. You have done a fantastic job hosting. I thank the organizing team. There's a great, wonderful team that runs things behind the scenes to make these talks happen. And the producers who are sitting with me in the room. I feel blessed to be surrounded by such people. So God bless you all. Back to you, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you for this beautiful conversation. And I really hope everyone has come away with a lot from here, and I'm looking forward to interacting with you in the future. So thank you very much, Kamochu, Monet, and Alex, for your insights. And I wish you all a lovely, lovely evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Thank you.
Thank you.